Abstract. The performance differential of large language models, LLM, between languages hinders their effective deployment in many regions, inhibiting the potential economic and societal value of generative AI tools in many communities. However, the development of functional LLMs in many languages, i.e., multilingual LLMs, is bottlenecked by the lack of high-quality evaluation resources in languages other than English. Moreover, current practices in multilingual benchmark construction often translate English resources, ignoring the regional and cultural knowledge of the environments in which multilingual systems would be used. In this work, we construct an evaluation suite of 197,243 QA pairs from local exam sources to measure the capabilities of multilingual LLMs in a variety of regional contexts. Our novel resource is a comprehensive knowledge and reasoning-centric benchmark across 44 written languages that evaluates multilingual LLMs for performance in the actual language environments where they would be deployed. We release include for public use. 111 https://huggingfaceco/datasets/cohere for AI/includebase 44. Introduction. The rapid advancement of AI technologies underscores the importance of developing LLMs that are proficient across diverse linguistic and cultural contexts, ensuring fair and equitable performance for stakeholders from various language groups. However, the lack of high-quality evaluation benchmarks in many languages discourages practitioners from training multilingual LLMs to meet this challenge. This evaluation gap limits the effective deployment of LLMs for many regions, exacerbates digital divides, and inhibits the economic and societal value of AI tools in many underserved communities. The source of this gap is the multitude of challenges in evaluating LLMs for multilingual contexts. First, at a meta level, the majority of benchmarks for LLMs are only in English, inter alia. While non-English benchmarks exist for some tasks, they usually focus on single languages, specific regions, or a particular domain, ignoring the importance of joint evaluation to trace and unlock the benefits that multilingual capabilities could bring to low-resource languages. Technical challenges also abound due to the manner in which multilingual datasets are often collected. Certain datasets are constructed using manually applied templates, resulting in low prompt and completion diversity. Many more are composed of translations from high-resource languages, e.g., English. These datasets often contain errors and create translationese artifacts. Most importantly, they do not accurately reflect the regional and cultural contexts captured by different languages. As seen in Figure 1a, regional knowledge, a legal question posed in English, Russian, or Greek would likely reflect a user located in a different environment, where different laws may apply to respond correctly. Similarly, also seen in Figure 1a, cultural knowledge, historical or cultural perspectives on the same topic may differ among the populaces of different regions. To resolve this gap, we design a pipeline to collect a large multilingual language understanding benchmark, i.e., include, by collecting regional resources, e.g., educational, professional, and practical tests that are specific to countries and originally created by native speakers of each country's official languages. This collection avoids translationese and also captures cultural nuances associated with each language, enabling rigorous evaluation of how state-of-the-art models serve diverse language users around the world. In our experiments, we sample include into two subsets for different evaluation budgets and assess an array of closed and open models on these partitions. Our results demonstrate that current models achieve high variance in performance between different languages in include, and that models often struggle with questions requiring regional knowledge. Further analysis reveals that models score particularly low on languages on which they are not intentionally trained, i.e., limiting regional knowledge acquisition, and that the possibility of transferring global, i.e., English-aligned, perspectives improves performance for less regional topics across languages. Preliminaries: language and knowledge. Language availability. Languages are typically characterized as a high, medium, or low resource depending on reported language availability, i.e., the amount of available data in a language that is available online. Interestingly, the language availability of documents used for training models differs drastically from the language distribution of non-English LLM benchmarks, with the latter being more scarce. Inspired by this discrepancy, we include 44 languages in our Include benchmark. In Figure 1, we characterize the availability of the included languages based on their reported availability in the MC4 corpus, and in Table 8 show further detailed metadata for each language. Language represents regional knowledge. For LLM-based systems to practically useful, they must enable interaction in the preferred languages of their users and be knowledgeable of the environments of those users. We define regional knowledge as the specific information, culture, and practices related to a local environment that is relevant for a user's context. However, LLMs such as GPT-4 tend to exhibit a Western bias due to the overrepresentation of Western text in training data. In Include, we specifically include questions encompassing the regional and cultural knowledge of a diverse set of high, medium, and low-resource languages. The Include benchmark. Include is a dataset of 197,243 macaw pairs from 1,926 examinations across 44 languages and 15 scripts. These examinations are collected from local sources in 52 countries, representing a rich array of cultural and regional knowledge. All questions in the dataset are presented in their native languages and scripts. In this section, we describe the data collection procedure for Include, as well as additional categorical labels we assign to each question in the dataset for later analysis. To construct Include, we collect sources of multiple-choice exams in collaboration with native speakers and regional associations. We primarily focused on 3 types of exams: academic exams, exams from a variety of subjects, e.g., humanities, STEM, etc. At different levels, e.g., middle and high school, university, including country-specific national entrance exams. Professional certifications and licenses, exams issued by industry-specific regulatory bodies for specialized fields, e.g., licensing exams for areas such as legal and medical practice. Regional licenses, exams administered by regional authorities that assess specific qualifications, such as driving and marine licenses. We design Include to assess multilingual capabilities that span beyond academic knowledge to cultural and region-specific understanding. Our data collection focuses on license and certification exams that capture regional knowledge of specific countries in their official languages, and non-translated academic content from the humanities and social sciences to capture cultural knowledge. From the collected sources, we extract the multiple-choice questions with their corresponding options and correct answers. More specifically, as this data came in different formats, e.g., PDFs, JavaScript, HTML forms, we use multiple pipelines to extract QA samples from these sources and curate them in a machine-readable manner. The goal of this stage was to automate data extraction and then rely on human evaluation for verification and feature annotation. After automatic extraction, We provide native speakers, co-authors in this work, with parsed multiple-choice questions to ensure they were extracted correctly from source documents. In cases of extraction mistakes, annotators performed manual correction of parsed questions and answer options using the original document as a guide. In addition to performing corrections, annotators also filtered out samples that referred to images or tables, and verified that samples that rely on additional context, e.g., reading comprehension, include the reference text in the question field. Finally, annotators also labeled each question with additional exam metadata, such as the language of the MCQ, its topic in both English and the original language, the academic level, if relevant, and the country of origin. In total, we parsed and verified 118,606 samples across 1,926 exam sources, amounting to 60.2% of the total data in Include. To round out our benchmark, we also consolidate existing datasets with extensive domain coverage in single non-English languages: Arabic MMLU, Chinese MMLU, Turkish MMLU, Persian MMLU, and VNHSGE, as well as a multilingual benchmark with limited domain coverage across multiple European languages. Exams. We repurposed 78,637 samples from these published benchmarks, amounting to 39.8% of the data in Include. In sum, Include is the largest collection of multilingual exam data to date. It is composed of 197,243 QA pairs from both novel and existing sources, and covers examinations from more than 1,926 exams in 44 different languages, 15 scripts, and 58 knowledge domains. Figure 1 and Appendix Table 8 summarize the language, domain, and knowledge diversity of the Include benchmark. The language breadth of Include provides the opportunity to investigate what factors drive multilingual performance. Consequently, we annotate Include samples with category labels corresponding to factors such as the topic of a question and its region specificity. Given the prohibitive cost of performing sample-level annotation, we only perform a course annotation by labeling the exam sources of QA pairs, rather than individual samples. We describe our categorization schemes below. Academic domain. We manually categorized 1,926 unique exams, following the methodology in. Our categorization follows a two-level taxonomy: a high-level academic area, e.g., humanities, and particular academic field within this area, e.g., history, philosophy, literature. 222. This taxonomy is adapted from the outline of academic disciplines found on Wikipedia. Each exam is categorized based on its title, which indicates its topic, e.g., Greek history, and associated level, e.g., high school, undergraduate, professional certification. Figure 7 provides a breakdown of the number of exam samples per language, organized by this taxonomy. Regionality. To account for regional knowledge, we categorize exam questions into two major groups: region-agnostic and region-specific knowledge. Region-agnostic questions do not require knowledge of particular regions, e.g., mathematics, physics, and their answers should remain common regardless of the language in which a question is posed. In total, 34.4% of all questions collected were classified as region-agnostic. In contrast, region-specific questions require knowledge that may depend on a particular cultural or geographical context. This category is further divided into three subcategories: explicitly regional. A question is classified as region-explicit when it pertains to legal, regulatory, or procedural knowledge of regions. Examples include questions about local laws, certifications, clinical guidelines, or licensing requirements. See Figure 1a. 18.8% of all questions were region explicit. Cultural. Language often serves as an implicit marker of culture. For instance, in Figure 1a, the answer to a question about historical figures in a Greek exam may reflect a different perspective than a similar question posed for a Persian exam. We categorize questions as cultural when they pertain to a region's cultural or historical context. This category includes questions for subjects inherently tied to a region's language, history, or social norms. 16.4% of questions were classified as cultural. Implicitly regional. Finally, the region implicit category is a catch-all for other questions whose answers may depend on a certain degree of regional knowledge understanding. These questions are not explicitly regional or culture-related, but may require regional context to answer correctly. For example, business practices may be different depending on region, even if the underlying theory is common in many places. In total, 30.4% of all questions collected were classified as region implicit. Detailed annotation procedures for these categories are described in Appendix A.4, and general statistics about regional labels per academic area and academic field are provided in Figure 7. Experimental setup. In this section, we describe our experimental settings for evaluating models on Include. The breadth of Include, 197,243 QA pairs in 44 languages, makes it amenable to many evaluation use cases, including monolingual evaluation in 44 languages. However, for multilingual evaluation, this same scale is prohibitively expensive for many researchers. 333. The cost of evaluating Include using GPT-4o with 5-shot demonstrations exceeded $1,000. Consequently, we curate two subsets of Include for benchmarking multilingual LLMs in different resource settings. Include Base. This subset uniformly samples 22,635 QA pairs, 12% of Include, across languages, knowledge tasks, and academic levels. The goal of this subset is to develop a multilingual benchmark with broad language and task coverage. Each language has a maximum of 550 samples, with 500 drawn from domains that correspond to regional knowledge and 50 from STEM subjects. Include Lite, a lightweight subset, uniformly drawn from Include Base, designed for rapid assessment of multilingual LLMs with a total of 10,770 samples, 6% of Include. The upper limit per language is 250 samples and only includes region-specific domains. For standardization and alignment with prior benchmarks, Include Base and Include Lite contain only multiple-choice questions with 4 answer options. Questions from Include with fewer than 4 options were omitted during sampling, and questions with more than 4 options were pruned of options until only 4 remained. In the following sections, we benchmark models 5.1 and perform analysis 5.2 to 5.3 on Include Base and Include Lite. 444. We will publicly release both Include Base and Include Lite. We assess Include on GPT-4o as a state-of-the-art multilingual and general-purpose model. We also investigate the role of scaling by benchmarking models that self-report parameters, comparing the larger Llama 3.1 to 70 B Instruct, the IA Expanse 32B, and the QWen 2.5 to 14B 14 billion parameter model with Llama 3.1 Instruct 8B, IA Expanse 8B, and QWen 2.5 to 7B. Additionally, we benchmark Mistral 7B and Gemma 7B along with their Instruct variants. We note that some of the models evaluated neither explicitly claim to support multiple languages nor disclose the languages they were pre-trained on. However, in practice, They are heavily adopted in multilingual use cases relative to explicitly multilingual models. Furthermore, even reportedly multilingual models, e.g., IA Expanse, which supports 23 languages, do not support all 44 languages included in our benchmark. Following, we report both 5-shot and 0-shot scores. For the 0-shot setting, we employ a chain of thought, COT, approach by appending the translation of let us think step by step to the prompt. We evaluate models using both 1. In-language, IL prompts, which present the prompt instructions in the same language as the sample, and 2. English ENG prompts, which provide the prompt instructions in English. For both prompting language settings, we also test a setting where we add a regional reg prefix to the either in language or English prompt to explicitly contextualize the region and language of the sample, asking the models to consider the cultural and regional characteristics. The maximum generation lengths for the 5-shot and 0-shot COT configurations are set to 512 and 1024 tokens. Finally, we additionally evaluate include using the harness eval framework, using both in-language prompts and English prompts. Results and analysis. Table 1 shows the performance of all models evaluated across the 44 languages in IncludeBase. For larger models, e.g., GPT-4o, Llama 3.1 to 70B Instruct, IA Expanse 32B, and QN 2.5 to 14B, we provide results for both 5-shot and 0-shot COT, and report only 5-shot accuracy for other models. Among all models, GPT-4o achieves the highest performance, reaching an accuracy of 77.1% across all domains and examples. We observe that COT prompting moderately enhances GPT-4o's performance, particularly in professional and STEM-related exams, Table 2, where the most substantial improvements were seen. In contrast, the smallest gains were observed in exams related to licenses and the humanities. Drawing on prior studies that compare COT and non-COT prompting strategies across different domains, we hypothesize that this observation is due to reasoning skills required in professional examinations, e.g., medicine, law, and computation-heavy subjects in STEM. In contrast, we observe significant performance drops by Llama 3.1 to 70B Instruct and QN 2.5 to 14B when using COT prompting on IncludeBase, with the largest drops on subjects involving more mathematical reasoning, Table 2. For smaller models, 8B parameters, Gemma 7B delivers the best overall performance, with QN 2.5 to 7B and QN 2.5 to 7B Instruct closely behind. While Gemma 7B excels in the humanities and licenses categories, the QN models surpass others in STEM, applied sciences, and professional domains, Table 2. When comparing models from the same family across different scales, we observe that the IA Expanse 32B model outperforms the 8B model by 12% on average, while the QN 2.5 to 14B model shows an average 7% improvement over its 7B counterpart on IncludeBase across prompting settings. As the pre-training data remained consistent across the different sizes within both the IA Expanse and QN 2.5 model families, we conclude that, with similar training data, increasing model size significantly enhances multilingual capabilities. Interestingly, we see little benefit to instruction tuning for improving performance on IncludeBase. Most instruction-tuned models perform slightly worse or on par with their base counterpart, with an outlier performance drop of 15% across prompting settings for Gemma 7B Instruct. A possible explanation for this gap is that instruction-tuned models may have been post-trained predominantly on English data, potentially diminishing multilingual capabilities acquired during pre-training. Overall, we observe minimal performance differences across the various prompting settings, except in the Co-T setting, where QWEN 2.5 to 14b and I-Expanse benefit significantly from English prompts over the in-language variants, and Llama 3.1 to 70 B-Instruct performs better with in-language prompts. Outside of these exceptions, English prompts offer modest performance improvements for most models, but this improvement remains within 1–2% of in-language prompt performance. Apart from I-Expanse 8b, specifying the region of the question in the prompt prefix does not generally improve performance, likely because the language of the question serves as an implicit proxy of the relevant region of the question for most languages in our benchmark. Finally, we observe that performance on IncludeLite is nearly equivalent to IncludeBase across all models, with differences within 1%, demonstrating its suitability for resource-constrained evaluation settings. Likewise, when using the Harness evaluation framework, model performance remains consistent, with results also within 1%, Table 4. To better understand how LLMs perform on questions in languages seen and unseen during pre-training, we take a deeper look into 3 open models, i.e., I-Expanse 8b, I-Expanse 32b, and QWEN 2.5 to 7b, for which we have details surrounding pre-training data and its associated language distribution. In this analysis, we specifically test 3 language exposure scenarios. Performance on languages, the model has been intentionally 555. We denote intentionally in this context to mean that the authors specifically reported this language as being covered in the pre-training corpus of the model. Trained on. Performance on languages the model was not reported to be trained on, but for which the corresponding script was reported to be trained on, and performance on completely unseen languages and scripts during pre-training. Figure 3 presents the language stratified performance of these models on IncludeBase. As expected, the models demonstrate better performance on languages that were reported as part of their pre-training data, trained on language. All models also demonstrate some degree of knowledge transfer to languages they were not trained on, but which share the same script as languages in their pre-training data, trained on script. In this scenario, I-Expanse 32b achieves accuracy, while QWEN 2.5 to 7b reaches accuracy, aligning with previous research that suggests shared scripts enable cross-lingual transfer between languages. Other factors may also contribute to each model's performance on unseen languages, though, such as cross-lingual transfer across topologically similar languages. For example, the presence of Turkish data may enhance the model's performance on Azerbaijani. Pre-training data contamination, where languages that were not intended to be in the pre-training data may still be unintentionally included, may also contribute to these transfer results. Lastly, we observe that all 3 models perform poorly on languages whose scripts were not represented in the pre-training corpus, neither in Figure 3, with the exception of the Georgian language for the I-Expanse 32b model. Data contamination is also less of a confounding factor in these cases, as language identification is more robust for unique scripts. In these cases, the model often performs worse than random, likely due to not being able to produce responses in the correct format, further details in 5.4. Using the category labels outlined in Section 3.2, we conduct a stratified analysis of 5-shot GPT-4o's ability to answer different types of regional questions in IncludeBase. We first note that overall performance differs strongly between languages. In some languages, the model consistently performs well across all academic domains and regional knowledge types, while in others, it struggles across the board. See Appendix Tables 9, 10, and 11. However, lower performance in certain languages is often linked to questions requiring regional knowledge, e.g., historical knowledge, professional certifications, medical licenses, suggesting that the Model S knowledge about regions varies significantly and that its performance across languages reflects this differential. Among regional categories, in Appendix Figure 6, we see the model performs worst on cultural questions, followed by region-explicit questions. Professional certification exams in different regions are a particular challenge for GPT-4o, average 68.6%. In Persian, the Model S accuracy on certification exams is notably low, 43.2%, whereas it performs better on subjects such as geography and sociology, over 66%. Similarly, in Greek, GPT-4o achieves an average accuracy of 71.3%, but only 54.1% on medical license questions. Further language performance comparisons across various academic disciplines are shown in Appendix Figure 5. Despite these findings, we note that performance across regional question types, e.g., region-agnostic, cultural, is not deconfounded from other features such as topical difficulty and academic level. Indeed, we observe that region-agnostic questions are among the most challenging as models struggle with the mathematical nature of many STEM topics. On average, subjects such as mathematics and chemistry show the lowest average accuracies, Appendix Figure 6. Unfortunately, as the region label of any question depends on its subject, it is naturally confounded with the Model S ability in that subject, regardless of whether the subject is regional or not. History is one of the few fields where we can achieve a more controlled study of regional difference, as exams can be divided into two categories: those testing region-specific historical knowledge, e.g., Armenian history, which we label as cultural, and general history taught in a particular region, e.g., world history. Region implicit 666, we note world history as region implicit because the manner in which the subject is taught and evaluated may vary between regions, even if the subject material seems like it should be universal. In Figure 4, we observe that for all languages that have history exams with both cultural and region-implicit labels, with the exception of Telugu, the model performs better on the general history exams, indicating a lack of cultural knowledge necessary to answer questions for more region-specific topics. Overall, the variance in performance among different regional categories in our results suggests that model performance on Include may not be rooted in across-the-board language comprehension issues, but instead in grasping specialized regional knowledge for different languages. Multilingual LLMs do not generate outputs the same way in all languages. Throughout our experiments, we observed that models did not always follow the exact format primed by the 5-shot examples or 0-shot instructions, format errors in Table 3, which required generating a longer output length to rectify. To empirically measure the impact of this seemingly minute evaluation design choice, we assess the 5-shot performance of GPT-4o on Include base across various decoded output lengths, focusing specifically on its ability to generate a correct response within the first follow-up tokens, equals 50, 100, 200, and 512. As in our main results, we use the 5-shot prompt template from, without explicitly instructing the model how to generate a correct answers. Instead, the model must induce the format from the provided demonstrations. Table 12 presents the performance of GPT-4o across the 44 languages of the benchmark, evaluated under 4 different generation window settings. On average, the model shows a performance improvement when increasing the generation length window from 50 to 512 tokens. However, this effect is not uniform. Some languages experience significant improvements, such as Uzbek, plus 17.2%, Armenian, plus 13.1%, and Malayalam, plus 12.9%. many others remain largely unaffected. A manual review and analysis of the generated outputs in languages with the largest gains reveal that the model often generates verbose responses, explaining the context before providing the final answer, i.e., ignoring the formatting in the demonstrations, but reaching the correct response. One possible explanation for these discrepancies is the model's limited ability to leverage in-context learning effectively in certain languages, potentially due to imbalances in language resources during the alignment phase. When models are prompted with instructions in English, we observe a modest performance improvement of 1.5% across all models. Interestingly, in specific cases, e.g., experiments with the IA Expanse family models, QWEN 2.5 to 14b, and Llama 3.1 Instruct 70b using Co-T prompting, we observe significant changes in the frequency of format errors. Table 3. However, this change in frequency does not appear to impact the performance of the models on regional knowledge, understanding, answer AC. Table 3, suggesting that the choice of instruction language may not significantly enhance or impair the model's ability to reflect regional knowledge, but rather primarily influence the format and consistency of the outputs in certain models. Overall, these results demonstrate that standardizing evaluation is a challenge in tasks that may lead to different output patterns, which is compounded in multilingual evaluations. In particular, given the incentive to lower generation lengths at test time, to lower inference or API costs, reliable multilingual assessment requires anticipating how models will produce outputs in different languages and scripts, and how evaluation settings might inadvertently affect measures of performance. Specifically, practitioners should be reflective about penalizing models for format errors when assessing capabilities and intentionally probe for format errors, given they may not speak or read the languages being evaluated. Related work. In recent years, the creation of benchmarks has substantially improved the evaluation of LLMs. Pioneering efforts such as GLUE and SuperGLUE played an important role in advancing tasks related to language understanding. Recent benchmarks, such as MMLU, HELLA SWAG, ARC, GSM 8K, and Big Bench, focus on evaluating models for more complex knowledge comprehension and reasoning. In addition to being used as final evaluations, they are often used to monitor and compare LLM performance during pre-training, rather than more traditional measures such as perplexity. However, these benchmarks evaluate models only using English data, limiting their use in the development of multilingual LLMs. Evaluating multilingual models requires benchmarks that assess models for these same complex abilities across diverse languages. However, initial multilingual benchmarks focus on more basic linguistic abilities and collections of such tasks. Furthermore, these benchmarks generally include only a few high-resource languages or are based on translations from high-resource languages, limiting the assessment of regional knowledge comprehension and reasoning capabilities. Finally, similar to English evaluations, multilingual benchmarks have trended toward saturation. Although there have been efforts to create language-specific MMLU-like datasets, coverage remains limited to a few languages. Most similar to our proposed effort, the exam's dataset encompasses questions covering 16 languages across 24 topics collected from elementary and high school science curricula. The IA dataset also includes a substantial release, covering 513 million data points across 101 languages, including in language evaluation sets developed by native speakers assessing general performance and safety. However, the IA dataset is not focused on collecting in-language exams. Our work develops a multilingual benchmark encompassing 44 languages, integrating questions from academic and professional examinations, and broadening the evaluation spectrum of multilingual LLMs to include region-specific knowledge. Finally, a rich body of work has developed benchmarks to assess LLMs for cultural understanding. Evaluate various aspects of culture and language using questions from community forums on 15 topics. Curate a safety dataset that encompasses local nuances. Compile questions about food, sports, holidays, education, and family translated into multiple languages. Synthetic benchmarks, such as NormAd, generate culturally rooted stories to measure how well models grasp societal norms. Tools such as CultureBank source cultural descriptions from online platforms such as TikTok, offering alternative ways to ground cultural benchmarks in dynamic, real-world knowledge. Analyze the LLM understanding of regional and non-regional knowledge using a parallel evaluation dataset in English and Basque. Beyond benchmarking, proposed a tool that facilitates human-machine collaboration for co-creation of complex datasets, challenging the multicultural understanding and adaptability of LLMs. In contrast to this line of work, our study goes beyond culture as a dimension of regional knowledge and also assesses LLMs on questions that reflect region-related factual knowledge, e.g., professional standards, law, clinical guidelines. Conclusion. We release include a comprehensive multilingual evaluation suite designed to assess performance of large language models, LLMs, across a wide range of subjects and languages for a rich array of cultural and regional knowledge. Include contains 197,243 macaw pairs from 1,926 examinations across 44 languages and 15 scripts collected from 52 countries. Overall, our results from evaluating 15 models on include indicate there remains considerable room for model improvement in multilingual regional knowledge understanding, and that regional knowledge understanding varies significantly across languages. Include offers researchers and developers a novel and valuable benchmark for evaluating and improving the regional understanding abilities of future multilingual models in the language environments where they would be used. Ethics statement. The primary goal of our benchmark is to reduce disparities in regional knowledge understanding across languages, addressing the inequities in access to technology and its benefits that often result from these gaps. We have designed the benchmark to reflect a diverse range of linguistic, cultural, and regional contexts, sourcing data from local and region-specific exam materials. Throughout the data collection process, we ensured that no private or sensitive information was included. We only collected data from exams for which there were no license issues. Our benchmark aims to capture and integrate essential cultural knowledge across many languages. We emphasize the importance of local engagement and encourage developers using this benchmark for the evaluation of monolingual models to actively consult with local stakeholders. To promote equitable access to technology and the development of multilingual large language models, we release our benchmark to the community. In line with responsible research practices, we acknowledge several limitations in our work. First, include spans 44 languages with varying levels of resource availability, leading to different distributions of questions from various academic disciplines across languages. This disparity complicates direct comparisons between performance in disciplines across languages. Additionally, the difficulty of exams may vary not only between languages, but also within the same language if exams originate from different sources. However, this limitation is also a reflection of one of the strengths of our benchmark. Questions are sourced from local examinations that reflect the regional and cultural nuances of the environments in which those exams are implemented, which was our motivation for a new evaluation benchmark. Naturally, this precludes exact correspondence between questions across languages. Another practical limitation is that our regional knowledge labels were annotated at the exam topic level, rather than at the individual question level, so questions are classified based on their overarching topic, rather than individual content. Reproducibility statement. We plan to release 2 subsets, Include Base and Include Lite, alongside the associated documentation and code for data processing and evaluation. These resources will be made publicly available upon acceptance. To mitigate the risk of data contamination during fine-tuning, Include will be released in incremental batches over a period of 4 months. Further details regarding experimental settings, including resource utilization, hyperparameters, and baseline configurations, can be found in Section 4 and Appendix A.5, which provide a comprehensive overview of our methodology. Acknowledgements. We thank Deniz Bayezid, Badr Al-Khamisi, Meet Ismail Zada, and Reza Baniyi for reading and providing comments on drafts of this paper. We also gratefully acknowledge the support of the Swiss National Science Foundation, No. 215,390, in Nassau, PFFS 21-29, the Epfel Center for Imaging, Sony Group Corporation, and the Allen Institute for AI. This work was supported as part of the Swiss AI Initiative by a grant from the Swiss National Supercomputing Center, CSCS, under Project ID A06 on Alps.